pizza in the
I
air
made
fryer.
pizza in the air
Yeah?
fryer. Yeah. It's really crispy. It's
I
really
really
good.
hope
Yeah?
Italians don't listen to this podcast. But that aside.
Well, I did. The last time I was here, we did one that was on the edge, I think, of cringe, but also gave some.
I know which one you mean.
This sounds like a good story.
This developed into a new advertising proposition called branded shelves.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna have dinner today. I'm just gonna make this prototype. Really cool.
But you were stressed a bit that day as
Oh,
well,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Let an engineer deal with Figma.
Yeah.
I would love it.
So today we have two special guests for a really interesting topic.
Fully agree. Yeah.
Yeah, design sprints. That's what we're going to talk about.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Let's first go to our guests. So maybe you want to introduce yourself, Thecla. Maybe you want to
Sure.
go first.
Yeah, sure. So I'm Thecla Goossen. I'm a product designer at Bol now for almost 3 years. So I started out in the consumer journey, so more like the customer-facing product, and now I am working in the advertising space, in the advertising journey. So and a little bit about myself.
Yeah.
So I'm living in Soest together with my boyfriend, and that's it.
Any weird hobbies?
Weird hobbies. Ooh, weird hobbies. I'm not sure if I have weird hobbies, actually. I just take on a lot and quit it quite quickly. So my latest hobby was making my own pizzas.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a good one.
And I'm still not that good at it, but I think it's a steep learning curve, so it will become better. And it will,
yeah. Well, I feel like everyone around me is making pizzas
Yeah?
nowadays.
Yeah.
I really I should know more about this though. We're
Yeah?
gonna catch up after.
Yeah, I'll tell you about it. Yeah.
But it's
Awesome.
it's like a theme, right? So in the session about product analytics, they were talking about baking bread,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and now we're talking about baking.
Coffees, bread, pizzas,
Yeah.
and we're here starving.
We're always getting hungry. So maybe there's a
Yeah.
link to the topic. I don't know, but we will find out.
Yeah. Let's see later.
Yeah. What is your specialty?
A specialty?
For Lars, like pizza, bread, anything else?
Specialty in what sense? Specialty?
Yeah, I thought like the metaphor of like baking bread, baking pizza that Thecla's doing.
Did you jump on any hype train?
You got some
Peanut butter
Yeah, maybe
sandwiches.
the coffee train.
Yeah.
That could be my train, but I don't know. I think the hype started after that I started with it, so maybe I was. I'm proud that it was before the trend, I think.
Yeah.
But now everybody has like these whole stations right at home, like this full. Everybody goes mayhem.
Yeah.
This guy.
Yeah, I know.
Another one?
I'm just judging coffee shop nowadays.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, I can do this better at home.
Yeah.
But nice.
Nice. Yeah, so I'll introduce myself. I'm Lars de Haan. I work at Resolute. So I work in an external agency. I'm a digital designer, so I work on things like design systems, digital design as in apps and websites, but also, for example, quite a lot of digital digital strategy as well. Have my connection with Bol has been in and out, so I've been at Bol for quite a long time in a team. Came back quite a couple of times, for example, for design sprints, but also some strategic work. So we're in and out here quite often, and now I'm back again. So nice to be back.
Welcome back.
Familiar face.
Yeah.
Do you want to share your nickname?
Oh.
Oh, the boomerang.
The boomerang.
It's true. Yeah, I think this is the 4th time I've been here, like in and out. Okay, this is not per se project, but I've been here quite a couple of times now.
Yeah.
It's nice.
So you have a lot of goodbye gifts at home.
No, I only got one once. There was one period when I was here for like I think a year, and then I really got a goodbye gift, and still using the cutting board that I got.
So design sprints. What are design sprints? Can you guys tell me about it?
Yeah, so it's basically a methodology. It's based on design thinking, of course, and on the agile way of working. And they came into existence within Google, actually. So in 2010, there was some guy, Jake Knapp, working at Google, organizing a lot of brainstorms there, and he kind of noticed that there were no really actions happening from those brainstorms. He was getting kind of frustrated with that. And then over the year or over 2 years' time, he started to develop this methodology, kind of to tackle big topics with a very diverse group of stakeholders. to kind of tackle big problems together in over the period of 1 week time. And tackle is maybe not the right word. It's more like to get started on the topic. But that's already a very big challenge for a lot of big companies. It's kind of a lot of design workshops.
Yeah, it's not even that old. 2010,
no,
you said?
2010 it started.
Wow.
Finished up a bit in 2012. But then still new courses are coming out and everything. So, yeah.
So you said it's kind of a brainstorm, getting stakeholders together.
Yeah.
So why would you want to do a design sprint? When is it necessary to do one?
Yes.
Yeah, I think the thing with design sprint is, I think you said brainstorm. I think I would rather call it like a pressure cooker. I think what you often see within, like, as a company becomes bigger, that you get more teams, you get more people, you get there's even more stakeholders, and often what happens is that like decision making becomes a bit slow, or things get stuck in like discovery phase. We'll do research, and then often like nothing comes out of it. And I would say that the design sprint is eventually just a way of like forcing your hand a bit to really force some output in a team. So really getting some people together and just making sure like, okay, we start the week, and at the end of the week we'll have results no matter what. Depending on how good you do your design sprint output, can be either good or bad. It's often the good part, but it's also up to the facilitator, of course. But I think often, like, if you talk about, okay, but why would you do it? I would say forcing your hand a bit to really force that output.
Yeah. That's really making the impact fast and almost being some sort of startup for a week again.
Yeah, I would say, it's, I think, fairly similar indeed, yeah.
Oh, that's super nice. Yeah. This is something because, we've tackled why it's called a sprint, I think, because it's, pretty fast, and we're trying to drive for impact. And the design part, is it only for designers, or what is this? What kind of group of people do we invite for design sprints?
Yeah, so ideally you have a very diverse group. It's really based on also getting everyone of the product team, for example, a representative from tech, analytics, design, because it's not meant to, you're not meant to end up with a perfect solution. You're just meant to end up with something that tackles the biggest questions that you have as a group of people. But it's also really helpful to have people in there because you're also making people deciders in a sprint. Because sometimes it's really about the speed, right? The pressure cooker stuff that we were talking about. So it's also very important to get people who also actually decide within the company in the sprint. Because otherwise it will, you will have to, start pitching it again, and that's not the idea of it.
Yeah.
The deciders, are there any other roles which are important in a design sprint?
Yeah, definitely. There are some fixed roles. I think every design sprint can be a bit different depending on what's the group that you're doing the design sprint for, or how many people are in there. I think especially it has been around now for about 10 years, and you see that a lot of variations have existed, or companies give their own twist to it. But I think generally you have the decision maker, you have the facilitator,
the participants.
The participants, of course.
The one who brings candy.
The one who brings candy is really important.
True. Yeah, there should be candy. Yeah.
It's generally also you want a mix of roles. You don't only want the designers or only the developers. It's good to have a mix of UX research, designers, developers, a product owner who really can make the decision. Sometimes a marketer can be in there as well. Can also be always a really good addition.
Consumers as well, or customers.
So at the end of the week, you invite them to to test the first ideas that came into existence. So for sure.
That's really interesting.
Like a closed loop. So can you maybe walk us through a design sprint? What does it look like from the start till the end?
Yeah. Shall I do the first day?
Yeah, sure.
I heard you did one this week, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so it's
fresh in mind.
Yeah, fresh in mind indeed. Yeah, so the first day is really about getting everyone up to speed with everything that we already know, because you shouldn't start a design sprint when you don't know anything about the problem or haven't explored any discovery topics on it. So that really starts out with that. So you have a lot of talks, people who know stuff on the matter from different perspectives. And then the rest of the exercise of that day are really about, setting the goal for the sprint, looking at what we want to achieve. Do we want to look at the further future, like 2 years from now? Do we want to learn, about what do we want to do before the end of this year? So you're setting that goal, and you're also setting the questions that you want to tackle. So the first day is really about scoping towards a shared goal, and also already to start creating some problems to solve from there. So how might we? So our very, I think, more famous workshop from the design sprint, which you're writing from the problems you want to solve. So, for example, how might we get more people towards this website? Or you can make it more detailed than that. So the first day is really about that mostly, setting the focus for the sprint. And then the second day,
it's about just understanding the problem, right? It's like giving some context, making sure at least everybody's on the same page about why are we actually here. I think that is a good summary. Now, and I think for the second day, that is always more of the fun part, I would say. That's really about generating ideas based on the problems you saw the day before. So it's about generating just a bunch of ideas. It can be in a lot of ways. Often you adjust the workshop a bit based on what kind of group you have. Some workshops just don't work with some kind of people, and some workshops do. So it's always finding that workshop a bit that is not cringe, but also really generate some output, right?
Yeah.
I think everybody has been in that kind of workshop. Where it's like, okay, what are we doing here? And that's, I think, always one of the more fun days, because there's still a lot of energy. Everybody's really excited, often a bit tired some days from the day before, because that is really heavy about understanding everything. And then that second day becomes fun because, hey, you can start generating ideas, and there's always a lot of different stuff coming up, which is fun because everybody has ideas, but especially some roles don't always talk about those, or they it's not my role, so I won't share those, or I keep them back.
Yeah.
So it's a really fun day always.
And I think also what makes it additionally nice, the workshops and how they're set up, is some people don't get to share their ideas indeed, but also it's some people don't get the chance to speak up in every meeting. And these workshops are really enabling all ideas to be shared, all ideas to be considered, but also not you having to push yourself, in between, this is my idea. So
perfect for introverts.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's also interesting because you have so much different, disciplines in there.
Yeah.
That I could, for example, see an engineer giving super technical kind of things, or this might be an interesting angle to look into, whereas a designer might look more into the consumer point of view. Yeah. So it's really interesting to see the blend, I think, of the two of them.
And I think
that happens on the second day as well.
Yeah, and I think one of the key parts that you said, indeed you have different roles in there, and somebody, especially when people work a long time at a company or are in a certain role, can really limit themselves in the way they think. And I think the fun thing, and that's more from my side as a facilitator that I've been in such design sprints, is finding a workshop that pulls people out of that certain role. We know you're a developer or PO, and we know there's a really difficult stakeholder field, or we know that there's some technical challenges. But how can we make sure that they don't see those as limitation? But now we'll focus really on generating those ideas. And at a later stage, we'll figure out indeed, is it feasible, or is it even possible what we're thinking of?
No limits.
No limits, especially on day 2.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of a workshop like that?
I did. The last time I was here, we did one that was on the edge, I think, of cringe, but also gave some.
I know which one you mean.
This sounds like a good story.
It was. I think on the it was on the edge of being fun, but also on the edge of being okay. Does this really generate output? That's also why you do multiple ideas.
Yeah.
One of the things that the workshop was often people are really good at thinking why an idea can be bad. But not always can find the right solution to an idea. So this specific workshop entailed people putting them together and only thinking of the bad ideas. So we want more people to visit our platform, How might we do that? Okay, well, I don't know. We'll use cookie banners on every other website, right? Something like that. Like, how can we? What's the worst possible solution to an idea?
Yeah.
And in this specific sprint, it was possible because it was quite a big group. And what we then did is we switched around the two groups. So we gave the ideas from group 1 to group 2, and the ideas from group 2 to group 1, and we said, okay, now figure out a solution to this problem or to this idea. How can you flip this idea into a good solution?
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
That's really nice.
And the danger in that is that like a bad idea, like it can be really bad, like stupidly bad, but it can also be, there can be something good in it. And I think the output eventually was actually quite good, but there were some things like, okay, it is a really fun solution, right? But even for a bad idea, this is a bad idea.
Yeah.
It was,
And I think
interesting.
Can you share that? Now I'm curious.
Oh, it has been a while ago, so I must say.
what the bad ideas were, you mean? Or
Like one bad idea, which was...
I'm trying to think of what was the... There was one...
yeah.
I remember there was one that was like,
It
okay...
was the best worst one, yeah.
but I can't fully...
Yeah, it's like you have to log in every time you are able to search or something.
Oh,
I don't know,
God,
something like that.
Yeah, it's also nice.
But that's also like, and that was really, because that one we did together, partially. I fell sick, unfortunately, the second half. But it's really, as a facilitator, you really have to, comfort the group, like trust the process. This will help us in the end. But creative exercises are something like you don't know why you're doing them, but it's warming up some sort of creativity. So it's really like, trust it, please.
Especially when you're not a creative or like creative. Eventually, everybody can be creative, but if you are not often in these kinds of workshops, or when you're not used to this kind of way of working, you can be really like, okay, what the hell are we doing here, right?
Yeah. And I've had multiple people asking me also during the time, like doing a little intervention, like, why are we doing this? Have you had that?
No, not really.
Oh, yeah. Okay, might be the person then. Yeah.
Just you.
It was a difficult stakeholder field. That's how you called it, right? Yeah.
I still do remember, because I was also in that one. And we also had to write a news article, I think, based on like if this would reach the media, like the thing that we're currently working on, how would it be published in the newspaper or something? That was also super funny, and also there you saw a lot of creative angles from people. Just I don't know. Some people even talked about like how the CEO would announce it and these kind of things. Yeah. Super funny to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, the future press release indeed.
Yeah.
Like if everything goes well, like what we will put out into the world. What will the world say about us?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's borrowed from our giant friend, Amazon.
Yeah.
They have some nice workshops worked out. Yeah. So and you also have the that's nice. So it also, the design sprint methodology, it looks at the agile process a lot as well. And you also have, for example, the future post-mortem. I think also, did you do it last time with vision? So that's really like, okay, if everything goes wrong, what will happen in that post-mortem, for example?
That's also good.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, so day 2 is quite fun.
Yeah,
we can
it
talk
is.
about it quite a lot.
Yeah, day 2. Yeah. So I'm always doing the 4-day sprint. So they condensed it a bit now. So if I do a full one, I do the 4-day one. And then on the 3rd day, it's all about prepping for the last day where you will do the user testing. So that is all about like creating prototypes, recruiting participants, writing the scripts. Yeah, actually recruiting participants, you've probably done before, but officially it's part of the 3rd day. And preparing for the day after. So another pressure cooker day. So you need to divide into several teams. And what was really fun is that, Tim, you've helped me out with creating the prototypes as well. Is that also there you're really stepping outside of your role and really are looking for like, okay, how can we make this happen tomorrow? Because it's quite a stressful day, right?
It is, yeah.
Because it needs to happen because the day after the participants are coming, or the respondents.
Yeah. It's really a sprint. Like it's really cool to see how much energy there is, and a lot of people, I think we did it in the evening hours still to just be able to really get the prototype there.
Yeah.
Because for some reason, like it's not all about the prototype should be perfect, because you're well, you're just testing the hypothesis,
Yeah.
but you're just so proud of something that you've built in like 4 days that you're
Yeah.
like, okay, I'm not gonna have dinner today. I'm just gonna make this prototype really cool.
But you were stressed a bit that day as well,
for
right?
sure.
Yeah.
Let an engineer deal with Figma.
Yeah.
I would love it.
Yeah, it's also what often people forget, because we are often hired, like, okay, hey, we are going to do the design sprint. Can you guys give us help us with a facilitator? Because sometimes it can be nice to have a facilitator, which is like as an outside perspective, because even as a facilitator, if you're working internally, maybe you have some experience with that, is that you still you have knowledge of the product, so you also have ideas about it. So sometimes having that external facilitator is quite nice. But then what we often say is like, hey, make sure people have time in their agendas. Make sure they really can commit during the sprint. Like, we'll be together like 4 or 5 days this week, and it will not be like 2 hours. Like, it's not a 2-hour workshop. No, it's 8 hours a day, and we really need that 8 hours as well. I think even in the design sprint we did together, like you already saw, like we needed to condense it in 4 days, and not everybody had the full time, and you already see that, like, okay, hey, it becomes tight really quickly.
Yeah. And that's where my work starts, indeed, like the internal lobby, like, you're needed. But I get it, because it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, they feel like it's a lot of time. But still, at the same time, they will spend more time having all those separate meetings, all those separate brainstorms, I don't know, whatever. But it feels like a lot of time. So also, everyone you are inviting should be really valuable. I do feel for that. But it does take some convincing. You do have to explain people.
Yeah.
People are also, I think, sometimes a bit like
Hesitant.
less people know about this than I
Yeah.
expect. Also,
Fully
also
agree. Yeah.
Maybe
for the
this
sprint.
helps.
Yeah,
Let's hope
yeah.
so.
Did you have the same thing? Like,
Yeah, like it's not I've never heard about this in like the engineering kind of world. So when we did it at first, I was like, oh, this is actually super nice, because you can really make something really practical. Where normally, well, if we give a demo, I don't want to bash on engineers, but it's quite boring. You can't really show something that you've made.
Yeah.
And now it's super cool, because you are able to work with a lot of different disciplines and really show what you've have in your head, or something you think we can definitely improve.
Yeah.
So no, it was completely new.
Yeah.
And I actually really liked it.
Yeah. No, it's I like it too, and I think maybe and that's something for later as well. But you don't also always have to do the full sprint. You can also like take part of it if you know, like, we have the problem scope down. You don't need day 1, right? So then you can do day 2 and 3 and maybe 4 a little while later. So it's not always like we have to force that full week in 1 week, the same week.
Yeah. It's always a miracle to me, to be honest, because like if you're really looking at you have to maybe block 1 week of work, right?
Yeah.
But if you just look how much it could actually bring, so I think we can talk about this in a second, but like it could lead to a project that leads for 1.5 or 2 years, for example.
Yeah.
Like really making some big impact there. Or a stupid example from Facebook, like they created the like button in the hackathon actually. Like these kind of ideas can just be part of their ideation kind of phases. And it's just weird that sometimes we have this guilt feeling almost of like we can't spend a day like in a room together creating new ideas. We have to we have to be able to deliver the things. I don't know. It's something I still don't really get.
It's a lot of, I think I understand some of that as well, right? It's just a lot of resources. Like there work quite a lot of people at Bol, and there's a lot of things going on at the same time. The maintenance needs to be done. There's other responsibilities that need fixing, and other things are going on. And often design sprints are a bit like in the future. They're not always for like the next week. So indeed, like selling it and making sure like you have buy-in from everybody, not only from the team but also from upper management. Okay, hey, we're going to do this, and we're also going to do something with the output. It's a challenge sometimes.
More candy, I guess.
I don't know if you can buy upper management with candy.
You might need something more.
If so, please let me know.
So the planning, getting the resources is quite a challenge, I understand. So are there other challenges with design sprints?
Good input.
Good input.
That's often difficult, like, or at least preparing the design sprint. Like, it's not only the week that it is a lot of time, but it's also like making sure you have the right resources at the beginning of the week. Making sure that there is already input from maybe marketeers or from strategists or from other teams, like that you can maybe invite as well on the first day. like making sure you have the right input to start the week and not like needing to do everything on the first day of the week. Like, oh, okay, now we're gonna start, and I think that's a challenge, and it's difficult from team side. As a facilitator, also preparing the week, making sure you have everything in place. It's more work than you might think. Like, you need some time for it.
Yeah.
But also during the week, as a facilitator, right? Like, it's really, I think you really have to read the room really well. Like, okay, how are the energy levels? How's the crowd feeling this exercise? I've also had people sometimes, like, not in a design role, panic a bit during the solution exercises when you are drawing up some solutions, and kind of comforting them with, like embracing that your ideas are also good and that you can bring them to paper. But I think the facilitator role is, so it's pretty intense role as well, right? So that's really a big thing to really be prepared for, like start the week well rested, and take a good rest during the evening, but then also during the day the workshops might go differently because it's still a creative process, and then in the evening you would want to adjust something for the day after. Change the workshops, maybe the times of it, but then also maybe do a different workshop. So it's really like you have to go all in, otherwise it's
keep everything on track.
Time box also
sounds intense.
The time boxing part is, I think, really like setting strict, like, okay guys, you have 10 minutes and not a second more, because else even if you have 8 hours in a day, if you don't time box, you'll be there at least till 8 in the evening. It can be you're trying to do quite a lot in quite a short time, and that's also the whole idea, but it can be quite challenging sometimes.
And not like get the stress to you that on the last day of the sprint you have participants coming. Sometimes it's also like people feel like, but we have to start making actual something instead of bad ideas we're thinking about right now, and flip them around. So also not getting that stress to you, trust the process, trust that it leads towards something to test. Also really important. Yeah,
but that's nice that every step is really made as how you describe it, as a pressure cooker. Like, there's always, like, you have to be thinking already 2 steps ahead almost, because there will be interviewings happening, these kind of things, and that's also nice as some sort of stok achter de deur. I don't know what that's in English.
I'm not going to try this.
Small wee verhaaltje.
I can make it Danglish, but not English.
And I would say the last challenge always is the decision making as a whole. Like, if you don't have a good, like, you have this certain rules and like decision makers, there needs to be one person who can say it's either this or this. Like, at a certain point in the sprint, you start like collecting the ideas, and you need to pick out the right ideas. And there needs to be a decision maker who can say, okay, we have now these 5 ideas, we'll go with these 3. Like, as a team we decide on these 5, but eventually you still need like someone who has also the bit of the back of mind, like, okay, we have stakeholders, maybe this is technically super expensive to make, right? Can be the coolest idea ever, but if you're then building it for 2 years, who are we doing it for? Like, does it then deliver the value of eventually releasing it if you're working on it for 2 years?
Because it's also we mentioned the content of the days. Is there also time in there to, for example, dive into the data? Like, is this actually possible, reachable, not technical, but like from a data point of view? It
should have been done beforehand. I think that's one of the preparations. Like, okay, hey guys, we looked at the data, we saw this, and that's partially why we're sitting in this design sprint. So I think that kind of stuff should be done beforehand, maybe with a UX researcher, indeed with a data analyst or business analyst or whatever they're called these days.
So it might be the beginning point before the how might we's already, because you identify the problems.
That will be a talk, to kickstart the week.
You want to give them as much fixed points as possible. We know this from user research. We know this from data. Marketing has these insights. Like, it's all input that you can use, and it's that you don't per se need to do during the week, because you just don't have the time for it, I think.
Can you also measure the design sprint, or kind of like what's the success of a design sprint? Is that a bit meta, but is that possible?
Well, I think not measuring the success, but then you are ending up with a research report on different solutions you tested after that week. So and then you report back to a larger stakeholder field, of course, to inform them. So I guess the success is if you learned something, and not if the success is not if you have created something that is going to be implemented or that's going to be, built for a experiment even. But if you have tackled some large assumptions, such as, I don't know, people will find the feature on this platform if we design it in this way, and you learn that people didn't find it. Then you have, I think for me, the biggest success is if we have tested something that we thought that was going to be really good, but it ended up being not perfect.
That
and
would
being a
save
bit learning.
lots of money.
Not
doing things. Right? That's the best outcome ever.
True.
It's a big part of the design sprint as well, like the validation, not both on user end. That's one of the big things that the design sprint, that eventually at the end of the week you should test it with actual users. And it can be a really rough product, but just throwing it out there and seeing, hey, how do they react on it? What we always like to do is also organize like this formal moment where, okay, hey, this team has been in this room now for 5 days. They're a bit sweaty, they stink a bit, but let's now put them in front of the whole stakeholder field and like let them present the actual ideas. And then you also see immediately, hey, the stakeholders see the value of, hey, why have they been in that room for the whole week? And at the same time, you can see, hey, what questions maybe pop up or what concerns maybe some stakeholders have. And I think that always works quite well. Also because I think as a team, you're proud of the things that you want to present, right? Like you've been in that room for 5 days, like you want to talk about it. So I think having that presentation moment sometimes at the end, like also formally like closing it off instead of, hey guys, it was a nice week. See you Monday. Like it was a heavy week, and I think it's always nice to celebrate that as well a bit. Drinks included.
Sounds good.
I'm curious. Do you maybe have an example of an result that worked out well, that you really pursued, and an example maybe of a thing where you learned, okay, this is not let's better not do it.
Let's forget about it on Monday.
We don't mention it ever again.
We can start with the thing that worked out well. It was actually from a design sprint we also did together. So it's actually 2 years back already that we did this, something like that. We were looking at how can we create some more space for brands to tell their story, because that's also helping our customers decide like what's a good product and what's a bad product. And then so we thought about how to integrate that into the journeys that we have right now. And part of that was a component that was on the list page, like on the 7th position, like a carousel thing where a brand could show a new product line and then with a image where the product is in context, so they could also see the value of the product. So for example, an air fryer, if you just see the image, it's a bit like, okay, nice, I can bake fries in this, but then the product in context.
Now we're getting there. Now we're getting there.
Close to the heart.
Pizza fries, I like it. Continue.
Awesome, but you can do more.
True.
So in that picture, you saw like also a whole chicken laying around. They can be put in the air fryer as well, like a quiche. You can put in a lot. So
pizza as well, actually.
Pizza in the air fryer.
Pizza in the air fryer. Yeah. It's really crispy.
I really hope Italians don't listen to this podcast.
We will lose our credibility.
This one's gonna hurt.
I think on 3,000 people there might be some Italians, right?
Could be true.
Yeah.
Oh man. But just showing, we saw the problem on consumer side that people from just a plain product image couldn't see the true value of it and had assumptions about it, and then adding that image to it as well creates an opportunity for Philips to explain their product better, but then also for consumers to understand the product better. So that's one thing that we tested and worked out during that week. And now, it's a little bit later, but actually this developed into a new advertising proposition called Branded Shelves. It's going. We're having a little launch next week, actually. So
wow.
yeah, that's
Cool.
really nice. And that's So that's we've developed it into a full advertising proposition, a full product with, an advertiser auction behind it, a setup flow to create campaigns for it, and
Cool.
Wow.
yeah, so
Awesome. Yeah.
that worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did it change a lot? Like from if you look back 2 years in a product now?
Yeah.
Well, actually,
Yeah. Yes
the
and
last,
no.
yeah,
I would say.
yeah, true.
I think it primarily became smaller. I think the
Okay. Yeah.
big thing with that sprint was at the time there was a lot of discovery being done. There was a lot of things being tried, but what we really felt like was there was lacking a bigger story. Like nothing was connected. It felt a bit disconnected sometimes. And it took some convincing to eventually do like a design sprint. It was still a slightly trimmed down design sprint, but like we needed to really sell that. And eventually we got agreed, okay, let's do that.
Mhm.
And then we thought, okay, how can we combine everything and how can we put everything together? And eventually out of the design sprint came quite a good, but bigger story, which the brand itself was part of initially, or at least the version of it.
Yeah.
And I think the nice thing was as well when we presented it and we toured it with some other teams, like we got a lot of positive reactions. And the manager at the time was like, first like, design sprint, yeah, it takes a lot of time and we need to do this. And this was eventually like, okay, you were right. We needed it. That's quite nice. So eventually it was quite this big product. And at a certain point I left, or at least I got put on another project and you took on the...
yeah. Estafette
Yeah.
style.
Yeah.
No, eventually
true.
there, I think still some things, as far as I know, are still also in development. Some things are of course lost along the way, which is fine because you start taking it across other teams, other stakeholders.
Yeah.
They have opinions about it. But if the purpose of the design sprint, like forcing an output, that worked quite well. We took all the learnings, we forced some output, and the output eventually led to a proposition, which
Yeah.
That's really
Great.
cool.
Yeah.
Actually, more than only that, there's more taken from that design sprint. So also the brand pages, the shop-in-shop pages was also in that design sprint. Like there should be a home base where you can always refer to. And then I think another component of that sprint, it was like something we designed there, but it wasn't the highest priority. So it didn't get through up until this point, because that's actually the sprint I'm doing right now.
Oh.
I'll tell you about it later. To continue building that journey.
Very fruitful
Nice.
design sprint.
Yeah.
Cool.
Take some patience, but you'll get there. Yeah.
That sounds like it's definitely worth it.
Yeah. But there's also learnings, other kinds of learnings, right?
Yeah. From that sprint, you mean? Or
No, like a learning where you say, okay, we shouldn't do it.
Yeah. So, an example from my own hand is, this was really at the start of my ball career here, hosted a design sprint for a new team and a new, a new product kind of ball. And we did the sprint and came up with some concepts on, I can't really say a lot about it, but just in general terms with a few concepts. So that can also be the outcome of a sprint, right? So just, for example, I'm trying to not mention the concepts we thought about then, but just general ideas on how to, bring a product, bring value to the market, basically. And during that sprint, we kind of noticed that maybe the case for this new team wasn't the strongest one.
And I like how this is like a description, like descriptive, avoiding.
Maybe at a later time, it's a better place and time for this team. But we found out that it may not bring the most value, as much value as we thought. So eventually, was also we discontinued with that, and and but that's okay, because that's also what the sprints can be about. Like I hear about this a lot from the industry as well, and I think you also use the sprint for a lot of different things. You can use it for a lot of different stuff. I also heard about a guy using it for planning his moving. like moving houses.
Yeah. Why not?
Scoping the problem, working towards solutions, you know.
Generating ideas. Do I need a lift? Or
Yeah, so that was more overarching, and that was okay because we just found out that that's not where the biggest value is at. So yeah.
That exercise where you like think of the most bad ideas, like it will work really well on the moving part.
Oh no.
Indeed. Yeah.
So I think I've learned a lot today.
You should join one, I think.
Yeah, I should.
We could do one for the podcast. Like,
How can we
if you guys give us input, we'll organize something.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Super down,
Yeah.
So if the podcast changes in 2 weeks or 2 years, depends on how well it goes. You know now where it started.
Let's not do the last example we just had.
No.
Well, this was the last episode.
Exactly.
No, but really cool. And maybe to end on a small note, like if there were to be a different, like another company being really inspired by this topic of, I would love to organize this. Is this like a thing you can just find on the internet, or is there something you would advise on? Like, this would be something you should try out, or tips, tricks?
Email to lars@resoluut.com.
Sounds good.
Shameless self-promotion. Oh my God. No. Actually, you host really great sprints. Also, your company is indeed specialized.
I think it's also not per se that thing that it's like hire external company because we're external and we need to work or something. It's more, I think, just having someone sometimes external or without the like the day-to-day stuff in their head. It really helps just pushing the sprint forward, I think. That's more the thing. But I think everybody can do it, right? There's a lot of theory out there. There's so much stuff on the internet to also organize it yourself. But you do need to know kind of what you're doing. Like, not just put people in a room and start doing it because the output will be shit. Like, and I think especially the facilitator has quite a big role in that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, so indeed finding a good facilitator is indeed a very nice challenge always. But I've actually had a really nice course. It was actually by Jay Knapp, who invented the sprint. It's an online course, AJ and Smart, it's called. And that really helped me get the why also behind all the workshops, because you do want to know that, because otherwise you are just, ticking off workshops and not really making value. And then you can also start mixing around or picking and choosing. So that one really helped. And his book, it's called Sprint.
Good name.
Also a very, very good book. So for me, that online course really helped with, getting the, like, okay, how should you do it, like, essentially, but also getting to know why. And then that book got some extra context for me. And now, I think if you facilitate, it's really important to feel very confident, because people will ask why we're doing this. And
but that's also a big compliment to both of you. Like, we also see it with, we talked about it in the beginning, sometimes things can be felt as being cringe. But it really depends on how you present it. Because if you're all in for it, and I don't know, we did it on the front-end community day as well. There we have a hidden gem in our company as well, who can host these kind of games almost to get to know each other, which can be super awkward. But if you go full and go all out in it and really show your passion and energy, like you guys are also capable of doing, then it will be a success.
The well-known icebreaker. The thing with sometimes the cringy exercises or the cringy stuff is that it sometimes works, and that's why everybody is doing it. The same thing with the icebreaker in the beginning. There's always an icebreaker in the beginning of a sprint. If you're ever in a sprint and like there's always this first question, you're like, is this going to be my week? Trust the process.
If you were a fruit, which fruit would stuff like that?
Banana.
There is a scale of cringe, I would say.
I would
say this is on the...
This is the worst one.
But super nice. We'll definitely put these in the show notes and your email as well, because I think it's super valuable as well. Cool. And I guess that's it. Really want to thank you for being here today.
Thanks for the invite.
Thank you.
Awesome. Anytime.
Love to be back again.
You're the boomerang, right?
Yeah.
You will be back.
Once people invite me,
Yeah.
You can't get rid of you.
See you on Monday. Thanks, guys.
thank you.